Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
Hello and welcome to the Popternative podcast. Happy St. Patrick's Day, by the way, to everyone. This is the podcast where we have digital dialogues for the worlds of social media, sports, and pop culture. We have a really cool panel from the sports media world. We're going to talk about live video and how that's being evolving in the sports world. So I'm quickly going to introduce the panel. We have first the one half of the Taggart and Torrens podcast and former drummer of an iconic band in Canada, Our Lady Peace. Jeremy Taggart is with us. Jeremy, welcome to Popternative.
Thank you. Good times. I like this. This is a great little startup you got going here, and there's good buds all around today.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And we have the Director of Communications from the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, Photi Sotiropoulos, is with us. Photi, welcome on the show.
Thank you so much. One of the only people that pronounces my name correctly.
I guess it has to do with the fact that I'm also Greek, but and of course we have TSN anchor, and he reports from time to time. We have Kelcey Brade is finally with us on Popternative. Kelcey, welcome to the show.
Yeah, it took a while, PD Beats, but I think after a year of trying to book each other's time off properly, I'm glad to say I've finally made it, and I'm glad to be part of this panel. It looks like a pretty star-studded one.
Great. No, I'm excited to have all three of you. And we'll start, Jeremy. I mentioned Taggart and Torrens podcast, probably one of my favorite podcasts in the podcast sphere right now. Talk a little bit about how that started, because we all understand that you were in the music world for like many years of Our Lady Peace, but you've always been a sports fan. You've always been involved in sports somehow. But talk about how that podcast came to be.
Well, yeah, after 21 years of touring and drumming in OLP, I decided to change paths, but I'm still drumming with 3 kids and my wife Lisa. We have a pretty full scene going, so I'm enjoying this last 3 years of being everywhere, being around all the time, and actually getting into routines where you're actually taking your kid to soccer every week, and it's not like every 3 months or 6 months when you can make it. So life is great because the kids are all young. They're 11, 9, and 6 years old, 2 boys and a girl. So it's pretty busy around here, and I couldn't imagine touring. But I think where podcasting came into play, I've always had a role in some kind of broadcasting, whether it be the person getting interviewed for years to asking other people questions and interviewing people myself to talking about sports. I always loved sports growing up, playing baseball, and on the road, I would always try and catch either a baseball game or a hockey game when I had the chance. And now I get to kind of do a little bit of everything, where the podcast came out of, I would assume probably when I was doing the Jay and Dan podcast, which I still know those guys really well, and I still do a segment on there every once in a while. Kind of started just telling stories on their podcast, and I had an old podcast back in the early to mid 2000s called Taggart's Take on like Chorus and all these other rock networks in the country. It was just me being a kind of an idiot, and I would interview people occasionally. And when the Jay and Dan thing came around, I was thinking of maybe starting my own, and then I heard Jonathan go on their show as a guest, and I've known Jonathan for years and always wanted to do something with him at some point, and we were always trying to find a vehicle. And it just kind of popped into my head when I heard him as a guest on the Jay and Dan pod. It'd be a great idea to start with someone as funny as he is and as intelligent as he is. And he's very outward and hilarious. And I'm kind of a little bit more reserved, but we find a common bond. Like you said, there's a good chemistry with the both of us. And it's amazing how it's kind of taken off.
Yeah, it's a great product, and for everyone who, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners do know the Taggart and Torrens podcast, and they're a really big fan, and it's unbelievable how you're able to do what you guys do. It's funny, but it has a lot of there's everything in there. Sometimes there's sports, there's music. It's great. So we're happy to have you on the show.
Lots of Canada involved.
Of course.
That's how it is.
A lot of bods.
A lot of And Photi Sotiropoulos, Director of Communications for the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, is with us. And Photi, I am obviously familiar with what you do at the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, but communications, a lot of people don't necessarily understand where that starts or where that begins. So why don't you kind of just explain your role in the league and how it's been, because playoffs are around the corner, getting ready for the Golden Pucks. There's a lot going on in your world.
Well, the communications world is really multifaceted. So I deal with everything from crisis communications to creating communications plan for the league from the beginning of the season to the end, to internal communications. So playoffs are around the corner. We've sort of finished the majority of the regular season. What I do for a living, well, I've never had to put it into words. I try to explain to my mom all the time. I don't think she understands either. But basically what I do is I go in, I read what's written in the press, I see what people are talking about, and I try and find new innovative ways of communicating our message, which is getting our 16 to 20-year-old players that are playing the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League as much exposure as possible so that they can get drafted highly in the NHL draft. Mm-hmm. I started off doing television broadcasting. I did stuff at CTV at the time before it was called CTV, when there were still individual regional stations, and then moved into global, and I worked on the radio, and then I worked at the NHL. I was a manager at the NHL where I did the All-Star event in Montreal. That's where I met you, I think, the first time.
Yeah, that's where we met. Yeah, I volunteered.
Back in 2009, and then moved out to Bombardier Aerospace, and now I'm here at the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. So that's a little bit my background.
Great. No, and speaking of broadcasting, Kelcey Brade finally on the show.
Segue, eh?
Yeah, that was perfect. I was kind of like, yes. But what I find, you're on the desk a lot, but we saw you Trade Center. You were playing reporter in Buffalo. Was that Buffalo or was that in Arizona?
No, that was Buffalo. Yeah,
they were playing the Coyotes though.
Yeah.
Okay.
They were expecting big things to happen at Trade Center between those two teams, and nothing happened. So
yeah.
3 glorious days in Buffalo.
I saw the tinkle in your eyes, man. You were like, Radim Verbata just left the ice. Yes, and nothing happened from it.
Yeah, Ducky nearly sandbagged us because I don't know where he saw that tweet from, but it must have been from someone. And then they're like, "You gotta go live. Verbata's left the ice." I'm like, he fixed his skate. He's never left the bench. So, but anyways, back to you, Pete.
Yeah, no, your background, you do a lot of tennis on TSN. I understand that reporting is something that you're really passionate about, but you just love being on the desk from time we talked about it in the past. So talk a little bit about how you started at TSN before we get into the big conversations.
I've been in the industry now for 10 years. First year I spent in radio. In between my first and second year of broadcast school, I worked at a radio station just close to my hometown in Alberta. So I got to cover the Oilers for a year, and that kind of drove home the fact that I'm like, okay, I still want to do this, and I want to push even harder now. So near the end of at the beginning of my second year, I got a call from my prof saying like, you got to end your radio stuff there. I'm like, but I'm getting paid full time on full-time hours. I'm like, no, you got to come back. So I was pretty dejected about that. And within a month of being back, I got like a random phone call from Perry Solkowski, who's used to be the CTV sports director out in Vancouver. And he's like, hey, your name came across my screen. Do you want to come in for a 3-month internship? And I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. Let's give it a whirl. So I was in for about a week, and I was hired 2 weeks later. So the 3-month internship kind of went by the wayside. So I was hired as a sports producer there, helping with his sportscast for the weekday 6s. I'd stick around and help out for the 11:30 show as well. Probably a year in is when I got my first break. Everyone at that station gets their first break around Christmas time because everyone wants to take time off. So they threw a nervous kid up on the desk for a 5-minute sportscast on Christmas Eve and Boxing Day and New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. So that's kind of how I got my feet really wet there. But yeah, I've been in the industry 10 years. I've been with CTV, Bell Media / TSN for 9 years. Wow. Moved out to TSN 2.5 years ago from Vancouver. So yeah, I came here as an anchor reporter I've always liked the reporting aspect of it. I've liked the hosting aspect of it as well. Like if I'm doing a panel, if it's a tennis panel, recently started doing a Major League Soccer panel as well. So I host that from time to time. I'm one of the co-hosts for this season, and then rugby as well, and then whatever else they kind of throw my way. Yeah, I like the reporting aspect. I like the hosting aspect, and then even the anchoring aspect, being on the Sports Center desk. From most of my time is up there, but it's nice to get out. Like I think the reason why you saw the twinkle in my eyes, I'm like, oh, finally I'm off the desk and I'm out doing something. So yeah, I don't tend to like to do one thing 365 days a year. So that's why I like the aspect of the reporting, the hosting, and the anchoring.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we got 9 years. That's crazy.
I know. It's 10 years.
I didn't think it was that long, to be honest.
No. Time is flowing right by. So.
Awesome. Well, now it's time to get into like the meat and potatoes of the conversations, because all three of us are, all four of us on the panel, are involved with somehow, broadcasting, podcast, live video. And Photi, I want to start this off with you, because the one thing that we've been doing at the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League is these live Facebook Live Q&As, and you host them with special guests like the Commissioner Gilles Couteau, and you just had the photographer of the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, Vincent Etier, and it just makes me think about these conversations that we don't really have as much on the show about live video. And live video is something that I believe everyone is trying to capitalize on it, but at the same time, people don't want to be left behind and kind of see everyone doing live video, and then there's basically, oh, well, everyone's doing live video, I don't want to miss out, so I'm going to do it, but then maybe it's not executed properly. So my question to you is, social media now, you see with Periscope and live video broadcasts, with podcasts as well, is huge right now. What do you think of the landscape? What have you looked at that's successful when you do a Facebook Live broadcast? What is kind of difficult? A little bit of a loaded question, but
it's interesting. It's interesting to mention it. When I started in radio broadcasting, one of the things that I really enjoyed and that really exhilarated me was like having a mixing board in front of me, pressing one button, and suddenly being able to speak to thousands of people, maybe hundreds when I started, but
tens
of people. I started off doing radio on Sunday morning at 6 a.m. where you have the best ratings. But that was the exhilarating part of it for me. And now I have a phone in my hands, and I can click on a button and do exactly the same thing, provided I have a base audience. And that's where I think the huge potential is for me. Now, coming from a television background, I see a lot of really bad in terms of things that are done through Facebook Live or through YouTube Live clips or that sort of thing, in terms of production values. And that's the sort of thing that I wanted to sort of up. I don't think I've attained it yet because I don't have the budget to do it. Yeah. But we go that extra mile of having a green screen, doing these different windows and replacing it and having, trying to record the audio professionally. And what I find fun about it, you mentioned we had the head photographer of the Quebec League, and I thought that was interesting. At least for me, it was interesting because nobody really talks to the head photographer. And what does it take to be a head photographer for a hockey league? And how do you get that shot that goes all around the world? And that was a really interesting conversation. But then I got one of the questions from one of the audience members that said, I have the Nikon D4 and I'm looking at this lens and so forth and so on. And he just goes into this rant about focal length and focal distance and the lens. And I'm looking at the numbers on our Facebook Live chat, and we're just going down one by one. And I thought, okay, maybe let's bring this back to cool pictures. Let's talk about cool pictures that you take. But that's what awesome. I like the aspect that I can immediately look at what's happening with my audience. Am I still engaging them or I'm not? And then the fact that I can do all of this based on a little laptop and no extra other equipment. I'm just doing it with a webcam.
Yeah. But Jeremy, to comment on that, more of the podcast side of things, a lot of our podcasts like Pop Alternative and they're pre-recorded, right? So you don't kind of have that the live engagement like Photi was talking about. But at the same time, so many podcasts out there right now. Like it seems like every day there's a new podcast, and I'm for it. But we have to comment on the fact that the market is becoming saturated with podcasts.
Absolutely, it's like walking into a record store in 1993 and going, "Wow, what's with all the bands? Like, what's going on? Like, everybody's in a band. Like, forget it. What's the point?" But I mean, that's just a snapshot of how popular they actually are. And people like them because they're very normalized. I mean, it's kind of not that different than when people started to watch reality television where, hey, they're just being like everybody else and they're talking. And I mean, that's all that the Taggart and Torrens podcast is just a conversation that I have with Jonathan every week. And sure, we play a couple of games, but people listen because it's a fun conversation. The main reason it happened was having these awesome conversations with Jonathan on the phone and both of us laughing a lot. And I'm like, well, we should just do this. And that's the meat and potatoes of every podcast, whether it's Mark Moran or Joe Rogan. It's you kind of fall in love with the personality and how they react with other personalities, and that's what hooks people in.
And Kelcey, TSN now, Bobcast, Rubber Boots podcast, which was brought up in my broadcast when I had Craig Button and Bill Kareem on the show, that James Duffy's show is kicking my butt in the podcast ratings, which I don't think is confirmed or not, but
it's because of that stupid story, man. He told that Rubber Boots story,
I know.
The Jay and Dan pod, and
hooked
every time
everyone.
I see Duffy when he was doing his book tour, he's like, man, all these people just keep coming up to me and they want to hear that story and they want to talk about Jay and Dan, and then they talk about me and my dad and stupid stuff.
It was funny. He came on the show last year, and he was like, he didn't want to talk about that stuff. Like, he didn't like about Rubber Boots or his book.
No, he's done.
But Kelcey, TSN's jumping on the ship now with podcasts, and you see too. There's like Facebook Live, and I'm sure there's some stuff they want to do with Wimbledon and like the live streaming, because you're doing a lot of the tennis. What's your perspective on the podcast landscape right now?
Yeah, and it's kind of funny, like the Jay and Dan podcast, it really got its feet going, its feet wet when they were still at TSN before they left for down south. So then there was that kind of big lull. There was a few podcasts here and there that we tried producing, but now all of a sudden, like he's mentioned, there's the Bobcast, there's James Duthie's. I assume when Jay and Dan come back, they're going to launch of podcasts again. But to add to that, like we're, as far as the tennis community, as far as TSN tennis community, we're looking at launching a podcast as well. But we want to make sure.
Another podcast.
I know, another one. Right? Tennis specific though. But the reason but the reason why we haven't launched it yet is we want to find that right happy medium. There has to be that level of excellence or expertise, as opposed to. So we're looking at quality over quantity, and I think that's what all of you guys have kind of touched on so far, is that there is a lot of them out there, but not too many quality ones. So we want to figure out what works for us, and it may never launch. We may never come to an agreement as to what we think, or we may just do a couple test runs of 6 to 8 podcasts just to see what kind of reception we get before we continue on. But we want to make sure we find that right balance. It's not going to happen in the first one, second one, but hopefully by the sixth, 7th, or 8th one, we're able to find a quality that we're happy with, maybe that our listeners are engaged with, and we can kind of see the response that we're getting. But I think it is an important aspect. I think another thing is the live video aspect of all this stuff too. I don't think most major corporations, or even if you're an individual YouTube star or a personality like that, yeah, you can capitalize on the live video effect of shilling products and stuff like that. But as far as like the big corporations, I still don't think they've figured out how to properly monetize, and that's why we haven't seen them jump more into the live video, whether it's through your phone and whether it's through your websites or whatnot. I just don't think we've seen that yet, because I don't think they've figured out how to actually monetize it and get a good value, because with everything in my industry, it comes with advertisement dollars. If you're not getting advertisement dollars or your show's not getting ratings, then it's considered really unsuccessful. And then they'll try rebranding it or reshaping it or moving in a different direction. So I think that's kind of what it is. But when I first started broadcasting, I was doing web broadcasts back in 2001 for university basketball, soccer, and volleyball.
Yep.
And that was a long time ago. And back then there was very few web radio broadcasts. I would say I was probably, as far as university sports in Canada, me and a couple buddies from my university were probably one of the first ones out there to do play-by-play and all that stuff. But within 2 years, everyone was doing it. Within 3 years, they were adding the live video stream, the Ustream, or anything like that. So you can see just how fast it's exploded. And now the quality of the product is always getting better as far as the video streaming capabilities. But the message that's being sent out there, I still don't think there's enough quality stuff out there. There's quantity, but yeah, it's all about quality in my opinion.
It's funny you bring that up too, because Photi and I are planning for our Quebec Major Hockey League draft coming up in June. We want to do something with live video, Facebook Live, and I don't think we've decided yet, Photi, what we want to do. But I just find it funny how now there has to be like thorough planning about live video rather than just taking out your phone and just filming the players coming up and getting drafted, right, Photi? It's like a completely different.
I agree. I mean, to Kelcey and Jeremy's points, there are people that are doing it very well. I mean, I'm a geek, right? So I love Leo Laporte. I don't know if anybody watches any of his podcasts. He has this thing called TWIT TV, TWIT, which is This Week in Tech. And he used to work on a tech channel that went bankrupt. And his big vision, he works out of California, his big vision was, hey, I have enough technical knowledge to do this all on my own. And he created this whole network of shows. And he rents a studio space and he does this professionally and he does it really, really well. He also comes from old school radio. So he'll be talking and doing his podcast and have like what you're doing, Peter, here. Yeah. And then he'll say, oh, by the way, I went shopping last week and got great groceries at the local market here. And then he goes into a commercial about the market and then he will come back to having a conversation about whatever. So, I mean, there is some ways to do it. There's old media or traditional media that can marry new media and do something interesting. I agree with you, Peter. We have to sort of plan these things out now. It's not as spontaneous. However, we had our Canada-Russia game, our CIBC Canada-Russia game, just recently. And I remember setting up my phone, this very phone. I just set it up straight, and we were taking headshots of the players as they were coming in so that we could use them. And I just just did a Facebook Live, or I think it was a Periscope at the time. I'm not kidding you. I think we got up to 1,000 people watching. Yeah. There was nothing to it. It was just like this stationary camera with people just going in front of the camera, smiling with their stick and then going away. And I thought, people will watch just about anything. Or if you target your audience well enough, you can find just about any audience for just about anything.
So I have a little bit of an embarrassing story I'm going to talk about now, but absolutely embarrassing. Okay, so when I first
honest pop alternative.
When I first did checked out Periscope, I was really interested in it. So what I just did like a Periscope just test, and it was just me eating chips watching SportsCenter. And it got 89 viewers. And I was like, I don't know why 89 people are watching me eat chips. So I said, I think I'm on to something here. So for like every week, I would just film myself eating food, and I would call it PD Eats instead of PD Beats. and I would get like 200 to 300 viewers just watching me eat steak, watching me eat cake. And people will tweet out to me, being like, bring back Peter Eats. And I'm like, man.
You found a market.
Great idea.
You found a market.
But, Jeremy, are you planning?
Peter Eats at Kelcey's.
Yeah. That's basically what it was. Like, it was just, I think we did one in Ottawa. We have the Prescott, which is around Little Italy, and they have unbelievable meatball subs. It was just me, like, before we were going to a comedy club, we were going to Yuck Yucks. I was just like, I'm just going to film myself eating this. And I had like 300 viewers. I was like, what the hell's going on? I know, but maybe people do watch everything, Photi. Like I agree with you because I'm just a regular guy in this industry and just eating chips. You know what I mean? Like I'm not really doing much.
But it's so simple. Like
yeah,
it's just only that exactly what it is, and those are the type of things that snowball. Just because it's like you're reading something and then you're doing exactly that, and then there's this weird hip factor to that with kids that they just love stupid shit like that.
It's true.
Are you planning on adding more video with the Taggart and Torrens down the road? Because I see you're on Instagram. Instagram has live video now, right?
Yeah.
So you can literally just record while you're.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. We're pretty low tech in terms of the show. Like Jonathan isn't even on Instagram. He just says because he says his face goes red as soon as someone takes a picture. He's like, I just don't look good in pictures.
Oh
so
man,
it's like,
he's coming on Wednesday, so I'm wondering.
He's like, I got rosacea, so what am I gonna do? Take pictures of everybody I don't want to see, so I'm not gonna do Instagram. But I mean, our podcast is really kind of so low budget. I mean, we're on the phone together and we record the audio from each of where we are. And then Tim Oxford, our bud from the Arkells,
who's been on the show. He's been on the show.
Oh, right on. He puts it together and puts I mean, the only reason we have 20-minute clips is because the file's too big after that to send. So we have to stop around 20 minutes. Like
I didn't know he was involved with the podcast.
Yes, from day one. He did my old podcast like in the basement at his house like for 10 years ago. So he and I have been friends for a long time.
That's awesome. I'm gonna have to text him.
He's a great engineer too. So
yeah, he's a good guy. He came on. It's funny. Maybe we could have had you on. We had like a drummers panel. It was like me, him, and Chris Crippen from Headley. It was good.
I know Chris.
Yeah.
Probably would have got too dirty fast though with those three guys.
He was going. It was a funny conversation because he was going about rock music is dead and whatever, and I'm like and Headley now is more pop rock. So
think of his perspective of what he's saying. He's like rock and roll's dead. Well, I'm in Headley. So this is like kind of like pop rock, right? So I guess he's just feeling like, man, it's done. This is all I see every day.
We're gonna wrap up, but I have to ask you, Jeremy, because Our Lady Peace, it's one of my favorite bands, and I want to know that it's a band that still songs will be in movies, on the radio. You can't escape it despite you not being in the band anymore. Do you kind of still take that role with you today when you do the Taggart and Torrens podcast and like when you bring up stories about the road? It was like a huge part of your life, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a lot of my good memories when you do something for 21 years and you're successful where it takes you around all over the place, it becomes part of my life, and just I have so many fond memories of the road, and so many great things happen because of being in a band and playing all the time and getting to develop my own drumming craft and all that stuff. It's fantastic. So I just finished the Canadianity book, which is coming out this year on HarperCollins, and actually October 17th.
Can't wait for that. Can't wait.
So it's me and Jonathan, our perspectives of growing up, but it's tons of stories about, being on the road and all that stuff. So I'll never stop talking about it because it was fun. I had a great time doing it.
How does it feel to be in my favorite music video of all time? Which one do you think that is? It's not Our Lady Peace.
Maybe the worst video ever too was One Man. Maybe that was a bad video.
No, it was. It's not an Our Lady Peace. It's your.
The Hero video.
Yes, he was the drummer in the Spider-Man Chad Kruger Hero music video.
Yeah,
that was huge.
The easiest 10 grand I ever made.
Okay, that song is like that's one of my. Do you know my dad? That's one of my dad's favorite songs. My dad loves it. My dad's like,
don't come to me with your problems, Peter.
Hey, I like that song. It's a good, but that was huge. And we had Dave from Sum 41 who was on the show like a couple of months ago. He had a song in that. And he said that was insane. Like
I didn't even play on the song.
You didn't. That's why you're in the music video.
From Pearl Jam and Soundgarden played on the song, and he had an issue, a family issue, where he had to go back from Vancouver to Seattle, and Drogs, he just gave me the old dial-up, baby. Come on down and fill in the shoes. So I did it.
Great.
It was ridiculous. It was in this huge hangar. The video probably cost like $2 million. That song became so big that I could walk around, and I started getting recognized in Europe. I never got recognized in Europe. That fucking video, man. Everybody.
Man.
Did you ever play the song? Like,
no, I just mimed it.
You just
one
mimed
time.
it, eh?
Yeah, I learned it.
So literally,
visually,
the easiest 10K of your life, perhaps.
Yeah, but it's.
They paid you $10K to show up in that video?
Yeah, it was a good time. But it was like, you think about it though. Think about how popular that was.
I know.
It was a huge movie, so Shad was probably making tons of money anyway. He knew the song was going to be a hit, and I can't imagine how much money he made from that song. Like, it must have been millions.
It's a good.
Because it was everywhere. You go from Thailand to freaking London. It's just, that was everything.
It's great. But yeah, no, Jeremy.
One funny thing about that video, that like, because Josie Scott wasn't a little guy.
Yeah.
They had like there was this one back shot from behind Chad and Josie, and the woman from the label was like, "We gotta take care of that guy's fat ass in the shot. Nobody's gonna want to see a fat ass." You know, so they put this big like rooftop fake chimney thing, you know, you see that like right round that ended above his ass.
That's the singer of Saliva.
They spent probably $200,000 trying to Photoshop out Josie's ass.
Oh my god,
dude. That's
video. But yeah, we're. Oh my god, I'm gonna go watch the video. Right
yeah, you gotta see it.
I have to.
You can't even see it flicker from the cheap green screen.
You'll have to attach it to the end of this video. Just
man, it was iconic. That was like the talk of the. That was on Much Music like every day. Like every day they would.
The other funny thing is Josie couldn't play guitar for shit, but he's holding an acoustic.
Yeah,
just doing
yeah.
So a bunch of fakers in that video, hey? Everyone's just faking.
He's holding the guitar. He doesn't even know what
Oh my god, I'm sorry. This is great. This is why I started the show, the behind the scenes. I want to hear the stories that no one else is gonna be able to get a hold of. But Jeremy, thank you for coming.
Chad will tell you that story. He thought it was funny.
Wow. Well, yeah. If he ever wants to come on the show, he could come on. But
please
Jeremy,
verify the story for sure.
Jeremy, thanks for coming on the show. I really, really appreciate it. All the best with Taggart and Torrens.
Thanks to all you guys.
No problem. It's been great. Photi, I know the amount of work that you do with the Quebec League, and you know you do a great job. You're one of the best out there. So keep it going.
How are you, Peter? You do an amazing job for us for social media. Peter does a lot of our social media, or all of our social media, English at least, and he does an amazing job for us. So thank you.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. Just wait for the content coming for the Golden Pucks and the draft. It's gonna be amazing. So
we've elevated.
Yeah, and Kelcey, thanks a lot. Almost a year in the making of you coming on the show, but I think those hero Spider-Man stories, were worth the wait.
Oh yeah, and it also got me off. I'm in the middle of renovating my house, so it got
nice.
me off, 45 minutes worth of plumbing in my bathroom. So
right on.
Thank you.
Awesome, perfect. Well, Kelcey, thank you. Photi, thank you. Jeremy, thank you. You can catch previous episodes of Popternative on our YouTube page. You can follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and we're on SoundCloud and iTunes as well. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Be safe, everyone. And until next time, this is PD Beats signing off. Thank you, and enjoy the weekend.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.